Let's be real. The Pixel 9 didn't exactly shake up the phone world like some of its predecessors. It's not that it was a bad phone, but in a market packed with heavy hitters from Oppo, OnePlus, Honor, Xiaomi, and the ever-dominant Samsung and Apple, it just kind of blended into the background. With the Pixel 10 expected to drop in the next few months, Google really needs to bring its A game if it wants to stay in the mix. And honestly, there are a few key areas where the Pixel line needs some serious upgrades. First off, it's time Google gave us a proper zoom lens on the regular Pixel model. Sure, super res zoom is clever, and it gets the job done in some cases. But let's not pretend it's a real substitute for a dedicated telephoto or periscope lens. That might have flown a couple of years ago, but now even budget phones like the Nothing Phone 3 have solid zoom hardware. Meanwhile, Pixel users still have to rely on software trickery unless they shell out for the Pro version. If Google wants to keep the standard Pixel competitive, it really needs to bring that zoom tech down from the Pro line. Maybe a simpler telephoto lens instead of the full periscope, just to keep the product tiers separate. Thankfully, it looks like the Pixel 10 might finally deliver on this. About time. Then there's the front-facing camera. Google's been crushing it with rear camera performance, but the selfie cam feels like an afterthought. It's the same 10.5 megapixel lens we've seen since the Pixel 7, and it's not aging particularly well. There's no autofocus, which is a little ridiculous when even some mid-range phones offer it now. I'm not expecting a 50 megapixel beast like on the Oppo Reno 13 Pro, but a little bump in resolution and sharper focusing would make a big difference, especially for video calls and social media. Battery life has always been a bit of a weak spot for Pixel phones. The Pixel 9 isn't terrible in that department. Honestly, Google did a decent job fitting a 4700 mAh battery into a smaller body, but it still can't match phones like the OnePlus 13R with its massive 6000 mAh battery. And the real issue isn't just battery size. It's how quickly the Pixel drains that battery. The Tensor chip is probably the main culprit here. And don't even get me started on charging speed. In a world where phones can hit 100% in under 40 minutes, Google's 27 watts charging feels painfully slow. If the Pixel 10 wants to compete, it needs both better efficiency and much faster charging. The display could also use some attention. I actually love the Pixel 9's compact size. Finally, a flagship that doesn't require two hands. But the screen tech underneath isn't quite up to par. Without LTPO support, the 120 Hz refresh rate can only scale down to 60 Hz, not the ultra-efficient 1 Hz that other flagships manage. That means more battery drain, especially when you're not doing much on the screen. And then there's PLUN dimming. If you're not familiar, it's the tech that adjusts screen brightness by flickering pixels on and off rapidly. Done well, it's unnoticeable. Done poorly, it causes eye strain and headaches. The Pixel 9's 240 Hz PLUN rate is way behind the competition. Some phones now go as high as 4000 Hz to protect your eyes. This is one area Google really needs to step up. And finally, we've got to talk about Tensor performance. Don't get me wrong, it's great for everyday use, especially with all the smart eye features. But when it comes to high-performance tasks like gaming or video editing, it's clearly lagging behind chips like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 or 8 Elite. The Pixel 9 gets hot and doesn't quite keep up in terms of graphics power. Eye features are great, but they're not enough on their own anymore. The Pixel 10 needs to be both smart and strong. So, what are you hoping to see in the Pixel 10? I'm definitely crossing my fingers for a zoom lens and a proper performance boost. Let me know what you're expecting. And until then, take care.